Here with more, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, Fox News contributor Tammy Bruce. Good to see you both. Tammy, let me start with you.
Yes, sir. Everybody.
I wish the country did agree with me on every issue.
Sure.
I just know the political reality is they do not. Poll after poll, in my view, has shown that. And I think there's got to be a happy medium here. And if Republicans don't get right on the position, and we saw that in 2020 in Pennsylvania, Mastriano had no exceptions for rape, incest, mother's life. He lost by the largest margin to a non-incumbent since the 1940s. I would say because of that one issue.
Many of you may know I come from the left. A part of my activism was abortion rights activism.
She used to be the head of NOW, the National Organization
I love that.
of
I almost forgot. But I would disagree with you to some degree here. And now I'm a conservative now. I have, in the last year, become a Republican. I understand these arguments, but I would say that, in fact, it's not even really about abortion. Americans, you see on social media, the conservatives are complaining, oh, it's a culture of death. I understand that that is the perspective for the pro-life. But the fact is, this is actually about, I would argue, empathy. It's an empathetic dynamic where women do not wake up in the morning and say, oh, gosh, I hope this year I can have an abortion. What I think about is as over 70% of the decision regarding for the women who have abortions, 70 to 73% is about the economy. They can't afford it. They are working 2 jobs. A pregnancy, they would lose their job. They can't afford to raise a child. When the economy is good, abortions go down. I worry about the woman who is surprisingly pregnant and she's not expecting it, who wants that child and has to have an abortion because the economy that the system, the swamp sets up, makes it impossible for her to keep that child. So when we think about for the pro-life, it's just like with the vaccine mandates. Americans don't like being told what to do by the government. They don't want mandates or bans or things like that. And they want a way where they can make decisions that really reflect their values. Women, if they get pregnant, would want to be able to keep that child. And it's difficult when you can't. So I would argue that for the Republicans and for the pro-life Americans, that this is not about abandoning your values. It's about how do you win to make sure there are fewer abortions. It means an economy that is good. It doesn't mean banning something, because then you're losing that whole real issue about why women are in this position. That's how we win this argument. Right now, when you lose in Ohio and you have a referendum like that and Democrats get elected, there are more abortions because the economy will be bad like it is right now. So that's how you win this argument. And I think for everyone, it will soften the nature of the issue. It is recognizing that women don't want to be doing this, whether it's a miscarriage or an abortion or any of that. Americans understand this, but women want to be able to do it and do it properly.
Let me bring in Governor Huckabee. When during these election seasons, when Democrats are demagoguing all of these issues, Governor, I believe Republicans don't respond in kind. They have got to answer to any attack, especially if it's a lie. That's number one. Number two, then you have this issue of extremism. Those that would support late-term abortions, or the Governor Northam comment that we have from years ago, or at some point of viability, Americans don't support that either. I think we're pretty clear on that. That becomes infanticide if the child is viable outside of the womb. So when it comes to parental notification, which Democrats don't want, when it comes to issues of late-term abortions, I think that is a winning issue for Republicans, and mainstream Americans would resonate with them.
It certainly would, and I also believe that we have a messaging issue. We don't seem to understand that we need to quit playing defense and start playing offense. It's really hard to score when you don't have the ball, and Republicans keep fumbling and give the other team the ball. We need to focus on one of the things that Tammy said, and I would say it a little differently. We need to talk about the fact that we're not against women. We recognize that an abortion has two victims. Obviously the unborn child, and the other victim is the woman who's the birth mother, who probably got talked into the abortion by a boyfriend, a friend, a mother, a grandmother, maybe a father. And the fact is, we're not wanting to punish that woman in any way. We want to reach out and show her compassion and assistance, maybe to keep the baby, maybe to find an adoptive parent, but never to condemn her. And I believe that the other factor, that we need to talk about how women are exploited through an abortion. They're not told the long-term physical consequences to their body or even the long-term consequences to their soul and their psyche. But also we get bogged down in how many weeks. If we're going to talk about it, let's focus more on something that everybody relates to, more like the heartbeat. If your heart stops, you're dead. If your heart starts, you're alive. Most people can understand that a heck of a lot better than trying to argue 9 weeks, 6 weeks, 22 weeks. We make the mistake of acting like we need to be afraid of the issue. No, we don't. We need to simply say, we are for life. We may disagree on exactly how we're going to make that work, but one thing we do agree on is that when you have a pregnancy that's in its 8th month and you just now decide you don't want it, then no doctor should go in and slice that child into many, many pieces and somehow call that women's reproductive health, because it isn't healthy at all for the baby or the mother.
All right, Governor Huckabee, great to have you. Tammy, always great to see you. Thank you both for being with us.